The man's name is Feng Po. He used a magic weapon called Mingdo to make dark clouds cover the sun. Then came the long-awaited rain. Because Feng Po had solved the drought for the country, even the princess expressed her love for him. He then followed the princess to help the refugees after the drought. One by one, the victims lined up to receive the relief. But when it came to the last girl, the box was empty. Just as the girl was about to leave, the princess stopped her. Then she took off her ring and gave it to the girl. It was left to her by her mother when she died. This ring will feed the girl and her family for more than 3 months. The princess' kindness touched Feng Po deeply, so when he returned, he prepared a new ring for the princess. In exchange, the princess gave him her embroidery. When he put the ring on her finger, the princess thought he was proposing. Feng Po hastened to explain that he had no such intention. However, his extraordinary ability and magical weapon, the other officials were jealous of him. They even threatened to let him use it for war. But Feng Po refused, because he had sworn to the heavens that he would only use the Mingdo for good. Then the treacherous official had his men secretly tipped off the enemy. At that time, the enemy's king, Altair, was planning to seize the power, and then attack the neighboring country. After receiving the secret message, the king decided that Feng Po, who possessed divine power, was a great threat, so he planned to observe this strange man first. As expected, he was as powerful as the letter said. Soon the king fell in love with the princess. His ambition to take over the neighboring countries grew even greater. When he returned, Feng Po seemed to have a bad feeling. He might bring misfortune to the princess. He claimed that he was not worthy of the princess because of his humble background. He stopped visiting the people with the princess. Feng Po thought he could protect the princess. However, the princess was infected with the plague while visiting the people alone. This disease can only be cured by the herb, Thousand Marrow herb, and this medicine is extremely rare. It can only be found at the border of the country. It's located on the border of the enemy country. The cliffs are extremely dangerous. Anyone who goes there will either be killed by the enemy or fall to their deaths. Sending soldiers to the mountain is likely to cause disputes. Feng Po immediately said he would go there himself. However, 4 days later, Feng Po had not returned. The princess was already dying. At this critical moment, Feng Po arrived just in time with his wounds all over his body. He climbed up the cliff step by step. He almost lost his life when he rolled down the cliff after picking up the medicine. Luckily, the princess took the medicine and woke up. When he learned that the princess had been rescued, he was so worried that his heart was relieved. Feng Po was still afraid that he might put the princess in danger. He knows that many people want to get rid of him. When the princess learned that Feng Po had risked his life to save her, she was moved to tears. She wanted to know where Feng Po was. The general said he might know. It turned out that the general had secretly followed Feng Po and saw his secret. The princess was puzzled. The general said she had to see it for herself. Soon the princess found Feng Po in a cave, and they expressed their love for each other. But it didn't last long. Altair threatened to start a war to force the emperor to marry the princess. The emperor chose to compromise in order to save his people from the ravages of war. Feng Po was helpless when he found out. For the sake of the country's safety, he persuaded the princess to obey the arrangement, but the princess only wanted to be with him. Feng Po chose to sacrifice himself, and Altair saw it all. Soon Feng Po was arrested for treason. He was also taken back from the Mingdo and imprisoned. He was then sentenced to exile. Altair planned to send someone to kill Feng Po on the way. The maid who overheard the secret rushed to tell the princess. The princess sent her to sneak into the room and take away Mingdo, because Mingdo was Feng Po's only hope of survival. Under the cover of the maid, the princess took the opportunity to escape from the palace. She rode after her on horseback. The maid died as a result. When she caught up with Feng Po, she took Mingdo as the princess herself. Soon, Altair arrived with a group of assassins. Facing the enemy's hidden arrows, Feng Po bounced back with ease. With his magic weapon back in his possession, he quickly defeated his killers. However, Altair threatened the princess to force him to give up his magic weapon. However, when he knocked out the princess and was about to kill Feng Po, the princess suddenly appeared in front of Feng Po. Before dying, the princess gave Mingdo to Feng Po. Feng Po took Mingdo with him again. First, she easily killed Altair. Then she extracted his evil soul. Finally, she sealed his soul in a bottle for eternity. In the end, both of them died with endless regrets and sadness. 2,000 years later, Feng Po was reincarnated as a magician named Jie Wu. On the surface, Jie Wu is the world's top magician. In fact, there are 3 ghosts helping him secretly. Jie Wu's ancestors have been exorcists for 3 generations, but in his generation, it's all about magic. He was satisfied by the audience's screams. That's why he keeps 3 ghosts at home as his servants. They not only clean the house, they also protected him when he was in danger. It was time for another magic show. Whether it's a lock that opens automatically or a headless body, it's all these ghosts. Since they can't be seen by others, they secretly helped in the dark. Just when he was enjoying the applause, suddenly a woman grabbed his pants. His pants were about to be pulled down. He had to follow the woman to the backstage. The woman's name is Zhang Hai. She's a cop. She just found a thief running in here, and the helmet he was holding was very similar to the thief's. That's why the scene just happened. Zhang Hai apologized for his behavior. Then she took the helmet and ran away. When she came out, she found a man tied to a tree. She cautiously went over to check it out, until she saw the missing bag. She realized it was the thief. When she got back to the police station, she started bragging to her colleagues about how she caught the thief. After work, she returned the helmet she borrowed to her neighbor, Min Ho. But Min Ho said it wasn't his, because his helmet had a camera on it. Jang Hai then remembers that she must have picked it up by mistake at the magic center. Meanwhile, the three ghosts are cleaning the studio. They suddenly saw a helmet with a camera. They guessed that Jay Woo must have installed it secretly to prevent them from being lazy. This made the three ghosts very upset. When they went out, Jang Hai and Min Ho came to the magic center. He managed to sneak into the studio as a cop. After changing his helmet, Jang Hai returned the helmet to his neighbor. At night, Jay Woo was going home with the three ghosts. Suddenly, he saw a figure in front of him. Jay Woo braked quickly. Then they got out of the car to check, but they didn't find anyone. Jay Woo saw a broken headlight. Just when he was in pain, suddenly a man came out. They were shocked. At first glance, it was a ghost. He kneeled down and asked Jay Woo to help him fulfill his wish, but Jay Woo didn't want to interfere. He took the three ghosts and left, but the ghost didn't give up. He stayed at Jay Woo's house. The three ghosts went back to their own homes to get ready for bed. The next morning, during dinner, they started talking about the helmet camera. This made Jay Woo confused. They rushed to the studio. They realized that there was no camera on the helmet. Then they called the security guard and found out that a policewoman had come to change the helmet. Jay Woo immediately figured out that it was Jang Hai who framed him yesterday. But the main problem now is that the helmet must have recorded his every move with the three ghosts. In order to keep his secret from being discovered, he came to the police station to find Jang Hai. He said that the helmet was recording business secrets and asked to delete it. But Jang Hai said the helmet belonged to a neighbor and returned it. Jay Woo was furious. Suddenly, Jang Hai received a murder case. She drove off in her car. Soon Jay Woo followed her to the crime scene. While Jang Hai was looking for the victim, Jay Woo grabbed her. He told her to return the helmet. Jang Hai had no choice but to call Min Ho. At that moment, a bell rang in the neighborhood. They followed the ringtone. They found out that the dead man was Min Ho. Jay Woo also thought that he was the ghost he met last night, but Jay Woo was still thinking about his helmet. That's what reminded Jang Hai. She ran over and told her co-workers that there's a camera on the victim's helmet. If we find the helmet, we'll know who the murderer is. But after searching around, she couldn't find the helmet. In order to find the helmet before the police, they had to ask the ghost of the deceased. On the other side, Jang Hai found Min Ho's car accident. He also found a headlight fragment on the ground. Thinking about when Jay Woo was looking for him, his headlight was broken, and he asked for his helmet in a hurry. He must have wanted to destroy the evidence inside. That day, they were looking for something in the yard. Suddenly, the police came to the door and suspected him of being involved in a murder case. But Jay Woo refused to admit it, and the three ghosts were watching. When the police were about to arrest him, the old ghost blocked the attack for Jay Woo. Jang Hai, who can't see ghosts, was confused. When that didn't work, Jang Hai pulled out a pepper spray. That's when the female ghost appeared. She sucked up all the spray. Jang Hai was so scared that she didn't know what to do, so she took out her baton. Just as she was about to make her move, the fat ghost grabbed the baton. No matter how she struggled, she couldn't move. The fat ghost threw the baton on the ground. Now, she was in a state of panic. She asked Jay Woo what was going on. Jay Woo told her there was a ghost. Then he brought Jang Hai back to his house. He told her everything. Jang Hai realized that the reason he insisted on finding the helmet, it's because it captured his secret with the ghost. Jay Woo said she saw the victim's ghost, but as a police officer, she couldn't believe this nonsense. She's about to take out the handcuffs to make her believe. Jay Woo called the three ghosts again. Jang Hai was lifted up in the air, but Jang Hai thought it was his magic show. Seeing that Jang Hai still doesn't believe, Jay Woo then did something that made her cry. Afterward, Jang Hai finally believed that Jay Woo had seen the victim's ghost, but she didn't believe all of it. Jay Woo offered to make a deal with her. She helps him find the helmet, and he'll help her find the real killer. Jang Hai agreed, on the condition that the murderer is caught today. Otherwise, he'll be arrested. Jay Woo also said it wouldn't take a day. Then they went to the balcony of the victim's house. They found Min Ho dead on the balcony of the victim's house. But the conversation between them, Jang Hai thought Jay Woo was talking to himself. After talking to him, Min Ho forgot who killed him. They had no choice but to take Min Ho to the crash site. But when he was faced with a car that crashed straight into him, he dodged in fear. Jay Woo came up and gave him a lecture. You're already dead. There's no need to be afraid. At that moment, Min Ho thought of his wife and unborn child. He had the courage to stand in the center of the road again. As the car approached, he finally remembered. He was making a delivery, and Suv ran him over. Vaguely, he saw the license plate number 1004. He wasn't quite dead yet. The killer dragged him to the back of the hill. Min Ho's license plate number led them to the car, but they realized it hadn't been driven for a long time. But the victim insisted that he saw 1004. Suddenly, Jay Woo thought that what he saw might not be the license plate number. It's the number of the junkyard. Then the victim remembered again. There was a wing symbol next to 1004. Jay Woo asked the driver if there was an Suv in the company. The driver said it was the president's car. He said he was going on a business trip today. It's obvious that he's a fugitive from justice. Due to the time constraints, they rushed to the junkyard. When they arrived, they found the car being destroyed. In a hurry, Jiang Hai reached in for his helmet. The car was about to be crushed. Jay Wu stopped her. Then they found the president, but he denied that he did it. He said he was friends with the director. He said he could remove Jiang's position if he said so. Since the helmet was destroyed, they couldn't prove that he was the murderer. Jiang Hai apologized to the victim. Then Jay Wu came up with another idea. At night, the president was about to run away with the money. Suddenly, the door closed automatically. Then the lights flickered on and off. The TV also showed the dead man's picture. He was terrified. Then all the things tumbled to the ground under the control of the three ghosts. The word, murderer, appeared on the wall. Jiang Hai, who was outside the window, shivered in fear when he saw this. With the ghosts playing tricks on him, the president was so scared that he ran towards the door. When he saw Jiang Hai, he rushed to ask for help. Jiang Hai took the opportunity to turn on the recording. He asked him if he was the perpetrator. The president confessed to all the crimes. That's how this scumbag ended up in jail. The next day, Jay Wu brought a lot of baby toys to visit the victim's wife and son. He said he was Min Ho's friend. Min Ho finally saw his newborn child. Looking at the baby's face, he could only leave his blessing. He thanked Jay Wu and the others. Then he hugged his wife and child tightly and left the world forever. Just when things were getting back to normal, a man appeared and broke the peace again. Jay Wu thought he was mentally unstable. What's more, the man seemed to have made this place his home. Jay Wu thought he was applying for a job. She was about to kick him out, but the next moment, the man took on a different form and pointed a sword at him. Jay Wu suddenly realized that the man was his family's god, Sui Jian. He was not satisfied with being worshipped by his family for over 2,000 years. He asked the man to continue to worship him like his ancestors, and as a sorcerer, but Jay Wu refused to do so. At that moment, the three ghosts that Jay Wu kept came back. Seeing Sui Jian in this outfit, they thought he was a ghost too. The fat ghost, who is old and experienced, he was ready to give the new ghost a hard time. In the face of their insults, Sui Jian directly knocked him away with one slap. The old ghost was about to take revenge for his companion, but the next moment, he was sent flying. Then the female ghost was also sent flying, so the three ghosts were sent back to their own lair. Then they kneeled down and apologized. Seeing their sincere attitude, Sui Jian didn't mind. At night, Sui Jian came to Jay Wu's bed. He didn't want to be a witch, and decided to teach him a lesson. When he woke up the next day, Jay Wu felt cold all over. Then there was a knock at the door. She opened the door and found Jiang Hai. She thanked Jay Wu for helping her catch the murderer last time. Before she finished speaking, Jay Wu fell on top of her in a state of exhaustion. Jiang Hai stumbled and helped him to the bed. When she touched his forehead, she realized he had a fever. Then she went to the living room to get fever medicine. Suddenly, she realized that Jay Wu's house was decorated with 3 spirit cards. Then she realized that they were the ones who helped her last time. Suddenly, she heard something. She saw a lunchbox floating in the air. Jiang Hai rushed to say sorry. Sui Jian thought she could see her, so he tried to ask her about it. When he saw her talking to the air, then he realized she couldn't see him. Then she penetrated Sui Jian's body and came to the bedroom, and Jiang Hai revealed the reason for her visit. She wanted to ask Jay Wu to become a citizen cop, because he can see the ghosts of the dead, so that they can work together on the case. Unexpectedly, Jay Wu just gave her a sum of money. He told her to leave his house. Seeing Jay Wu humiliate her with money, her pride was insulted. So she thanked Jay Wu and left. After Jiang Hai left, Sui Jian realized that his merit had grown again. He was puzzled. He asked Jay Wu if he had done something good. Jay Wu said no. Then how did the merit grow? So he rushed out the door. He saw a golden light above Jiang's head. He realized that this woman was something special. So he went back to his room and told Jay Wu about the fan. But Jay Wu said he'd wait until his fever went down. When he heard that, Sui Jian told him that no medicine could cure him. He also said that he cast a spell on him. Now Jay Wu was upset, threatened that if he didn't cure himself, he wouldn't help him ask about the merit. Sui Jian had no choice but to compromise. After casting a spell, Jay Wu realized that he was really cured. Then Sui Jian told him that just because that girl said thank you, the merit value has increased so much. As long as the merit value is complete, he will be able to fly to the god's world. But Jay Wu said he wouldn't become a sorcerer. Sui Jian explained that it's okay if you don't become a sorcerer. You can join the police officer. As long as you get the policewoman to say thank you, the merit value will also go up. But no matter what Sui Jian said, Jay Wu just wouldn't help him. This made Sui Jian very angry. He thought he had to teach him a lesson. So the next day, when Jay Wu was performing magic tricks with fire, Sui Jian showed up. The 3 ghosts also did their best to help Jay Wu on stage, only to see Sui Jian's finger flicking. An unknown gas flew into Jay Wu's abdomen. Seeing this scene, the audience thought it was a magic trick. Seeing Jay Wu running around in fear, they realized it wasn't magic, until the staff brought a fire extinguisher to put out the fire. But even then, he still needed to maintain his handsome posture. In order not to lose his future in magic to Sui Jian, he chose to become a citizen cop. On this day, Jiang Hai sent an old man with dementia home. home. The old man offered him $1 million as a thank you. Zhang Hai was puzzled and asked him where he got the money from. The old man said he dug it up in his yard. Zhang Hai was shocked, so she followed the old man to the yard. She found a large amount of cash in the ground. There was too much money. The police cordoned off the area. They dug up all the money. It was about $10 billion. At night, Jay Wu saw the news on TV. They felt that they had missed out on $10 billion. Because in the morning, he was asked to take the old man home. He said he was busy. Now it's too late to regret. At that moment, the doorbell rang. It was Zhang Hai looking for him. The two of them went on a patrol. Zhang Hai said he wanted to visit the elderly. Jay Wu agreed. At that moment, the three bullies were forcing the old man to pay back the money. At that moment, Zhang Hai pushed the door and came in. She came into the living room but didn't find anyone. But they were in the living room. It wasn't until Jay Wu arrived that they were separated. The three bullies decided to teach Jay Wu a lesson. Suddenly, Sui Jian arrived. They were so scared that they fell to their knees and begged for mercy. At that moment, Zhang Hai came in, but she only saw Jay Wu talking to himself. She immediately realized something was wrong. When she opened the door, he wasn't breathing. She told Jay Wu to call the emergency number. Then she started to do artificial respiration. Jay Wu stopped her. Apparently, the old man was already dead. Then the ambulance took away the old man's body. Then the ghost of the old man appeared. Jay Wu asked him why he didn't follow. The old man said that his son had done something wrong, so he couldn't just leave. Hearing the conversation between the two, Zhang Hai realized it was the old man's ghost. After realizing the old man's wish, they decided to fulfill the old man's wish and help his son get back on the right track. Jay Wu was about to refuse. Sui Jian told him he had to help. He said he had to help so that the merit would grow faster. They had to follow the old man to his room. The old man said that when he was young, he was addicted to gambling, which broke up his family. After his wife died, his son left home because he hated him. Since then, he spent every day atoning for his sins. He even gave all the money he earned to welfare organizations. I don't know how many years have passed since then. His son came to him. He bought him a new house. He even set up a nursing home. But at night, his son became very strange. He buried a lot of money in the yard. Later, we found out that our son was cheating money through online gambling. These ghosts were among the victims. The old man blamed himself. They talked for half a day. In Zhang's opinion, Jay Wu was the only one talking to himself. In order to find the old man's son, they have to find the link to the internet casino first. On the other hand, in the basement, the old man's son is writing code to manipulate a bigger gambling game. It's even spread all over the country. Soon they had a destination in mind, so they came here in disguise. They looked at each other's cards to tell Jay Wu whether to bet or not. Soon, with the help of a few ghosts, he won a lot of money. This attracted the attention of the casino owner, so he sent a subordinate who was a good gambler. The game began. The ghost suddenly saw a card hidden in the man's hand and told Jay Wu. Then the man gave a wink to the woman next to him. The woman pretended to spill coffee on the man's pants. The man puts the ace of spades on his thigh. The woman took a towel and cleaned it up for him. That's how the ace of spades got away. But Jay Wu's card is 2 deuces. The only way to win the game is to replace the 2 of diamonds with the ace of spades. But the ace of spades is in the woman's bag. The ghosts agreed on a plan and started to act. First, the fat ghost tipped the woman's bench back. The woman quickly takes the ace of spades out of the bag and passes it to the old man. Then the old man puts the card in Jay Wu's hand. After the change of cards, Jay Wu throws the 2 of diamonds to the woman. The woman fell to the ground in a daze. Then she sat back down again with a curse on her face. The man bet all of his money with the intention of winning. Jay Wu asked him to show his cards. The man said he had a straight flush. Then he was about to take all the money. Suddenly, Jay Wu stopped him. The man looked at Jay Wu's cards in disbelief. He asked the woman next to him what happened. The woman rushed to take out the cards from her bag. She realized that the ace of spades had turned into the 2 of diamonds. She was shocked. Jay Wu also told the man not to jump to conclusions so early. The 3 ghosts were happy together. Just as they were about to collect the money, the police suddenly appeared. This scared the hell out of them, although they are also police officers. But this time they came here in secret. Jay Wu took the money and ran away. But the wallet was knocked on the ground. He was about to pick it up when his coworkers found him. He stepped on the bag. Jay Wu was so scared that he lowered his head to avoid being recognized. Then he grabbed the bag and ran away when his coworker wasn't looking. But the bag flew away. Then the coworker pushed Jay Wu to the ground. When he heard the noise, Zhang Hai grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprayed it on them. Jay Wu picked up the bag on the ground. They ran away. Sanguk turned out all the lights, and they managed to escape. Jay Wu opened his wallet with joy. When he saw what was inside, he was dumbfounded. All the money was gone. Then he suddenly remembered that there were 2 identical bags. He must have taken the wrong one. After returning home, the ghost was going to use the website to crack the internet gambling game, but I didn't realize the old man's son was prepared for it. At the same time, the man was very satisfied with the increasing amount of money. The next day, they found the old man's ghost again and asked where his son son might be, but the old man couldn't tell them either. Then Jae-woo realized why there were so many air vents above the nursing home. It could be a server. So they went to the nursing home in the dark. The ghosts went inside to look for it. Soon they found a room under the kitchen. When they moved the refrigerator, they saw a door. At the same time, the men saw Jae-woo on the surveillance camera. Soon Jae-woo found his way here. Jae-woo said he wasn't here to arrest him. He wanted money. The man agreed. He took out $100 million and threw it to him. When Jae-woo was picking up the money, the man suddenly pointed a knife at him. Jae-woo called out to his 3 ghosts. But then the debt collectors came and tried to kill the man. The 3 ghosts had to stop them. Jae-woo couldn't wait for the 3 ghosts to show up. The man thought it was a scare. Then he took a knife and slashed at Jae-woo. Jang Hai rushed out and blocked him. In a trance, Jae-woo seemed to see his past life. Jang Hai quickly arrested the man, but Jae-woo was shocked by the flash of light and looked at Jang Hai. At the police station, Jang Hai was questioned. The man hated his father for being a gambler and abandoning his wife and son. The reason why he did this was to get back at his father. Then Jae-woo took out his father's donation book. He told him that his father had realized his mistake 20 years ago, and that the donations were made in his name. The man shuddered when he saw the name in the bank book. On his way to prison, he thought of the night his father died. He saw his father on his knees in pain, but because of the hatred in his heart, he turned around and left. He didn't realize that his departure would be the end of his father's life. He fell to his knees in agony. At that moment, the old man's spirit came. He apologized to his son. He said he was sorry for his dead wife. Then he hugged his son and left the world forever with a sense of remorse. Jae-woo can not only see human souls, he can also see the spirits of animals. The dog in front of him is dead. He couldn't understand how a dog's spirit could haunt him, so he pressed the elevator to leave. The ghost realized that the dog had something to say. Jae-woo rushed into the elevator for fear of trouble. When they left, the dog went straight through the guardrail, but it was too late. The 3 ghosts were not happy with his behavior. He had no choice but to call Jang Hai. Jang Hai was thrilled to hear the news. It turns out that a few days ago, a little boy came to the police station to report that his dog was missing. That's why Jang Hai was so excited. Soon she went to Jae-woo's workplace, but there was no sign of the dog. Jae-woo said the dog was dead. He took Jang Hai to the parking lot to look for the dog's spirit. When the dog saw Jae-woo, he immediately jumped on her, until Jae-woo dropped his bag. Jang Hai realized that the dog must have found something. He went up to the dog. He picked up the coffee that fell out of the bag and asked who gave it to him. Jae-woo said that one of his clients, Shia, gave it to him. Soon Jang Hai realized from the surveillance that the dog had already found out that Soo-ah was using drugs before he died. In order not to be exposed, she had the driver run the dog over and kill it. On the other hand, Jae-woo brought the dog's spirit back home. The 3 ghosts had a great time playing with the dog. Then the female ghost took the dog out for a walk, but she saw Jang Hai waiting at the traffic light. Suddenly, the dog barked at a man. The man was the one who ran him over with his car. The ghost called out to Jang Hai, but Jang Hai couldn't hear her. Then she saw a car next to her, so the ghost used her mirror to alert Jang Hai. Soon Jang Hai spotted this man. Isn't that the driver from the surveillance camera? Then she quietly followed the man. She followed him all the way to the drug house, so she called her co-workers to tell them, but Jang Hai was discovered before she could finish her sentence. That's how she was kidnapped, and all this was seen by the ghost who followed her. Not long after, a car came speeding up. Jae-woo arrived. Then they fought together. 3 ghosts joined the fight. Even the dog joined the fight. Soon, Jae-woo's side won. The police arrived in time. All the drug dealers were caught, and it was all thanks to this dead dog. That night, Jae-woo told Jang Hai that there was a ghost over there. She told her not to stare at the ghost, otherwise, it would follow her closely. In order to prevent Jang Hai from staring at the ghost, Jae-woo gave her the sunglasses. But then an accident happened. A ghost reached for the flower in Jang's hand. Jae-woo took Jang Hai into his arms. At that moment, Jae-woo realized that he had fallen in love with Jang Hai. So the next day, Jae-woo studied love books. Just then, a message came on his cell phone. It was a picture of Jang Hai and Officer Lee together. The 3 ghosts were ready to help Jae-woo out. When Officer Lee was about to confess his love, suddenly, the fat ghost pinched his mouth. But their action helped the 2 of them. The relationship between the 2 of them went further. On the other hand, Jae-woo couldn't just stand by and let his beloved be taken away from him. So while they were bowling, Jae-woo came to them with the help of his younger sister. He decided to have a bowling match with Officer Lee. Unbeknownst to him, Officer Lee is an expert bowler. The crowd was amazed by his performance. Jang Hai also became a fan in an instant. The game has officially begun. First up was Jae-woo. Everyone was cheering for him, but despite that, he still missed the target. On the other hand, Officer Sia's side is still hitting steadily. After a few rounds, Jae-woo is still not getting any better. The ghosts couldn't stand it anymore. With their help, Jae-woo won several games in a row. When it comes to the last ball, Sui Jian hit too hard and smashed a hole through the wall, but nothing could stop Officer Seo from confessing his love. Watching their intimate behavior, Jae-woo was holding the ring he used to confess his love. He didn't know where he lost. Then he left in sadness. Unbeknownst to him, Jiang Hai didn't agree to Officer Sia's confession. Looking at the waning Jie-Wu, Sui Jian told him to go after Jiang Hai, because he and Jiang Hai were lovers in their past lives. But Jie-Wu didn't know it yet. That day, a woman in white wandered into the tunnel. Jiang Hai saw her and told her to come out, but Jiang's scary face scared him so much that he ran away. Soon Jiang Hai came to Jie-Wu's house and asked the three ghosts for help. When they found out about the situation, they rushed to the tunnel entrance without stopping. They felt that the ghost was dangerous. Jie-Wu heard this and immediately bragged that he could handle the female ghost. Then he led them there with him, but when they saw the ghost's face, they ran away in fear. Dong Chul accidentally fell to the ground, but they didn't stop. Dong Chul was desperate, but when he saw the ghost's face, both of them were stunned. It turns out they were a couple in life. Dong Chul was a gangster. In order to give his girlfriend Youngmi a warm and happy home, he asked the boss to let him quit the organization. He was surprised when the boss agreed. At night, Dong Chul took flowers and proposed to his girlfriend. At that moment, an assassin suddenly came out and attacked him. Seeing the blood on his hands, his girlfriend was so scared that she fell to the ground. Dong Chul was then killed by the assassin, but Dong Chul couldn't understand why his girlfriend became a ghost. It turns out that after his death that day, the killer didn't let her go. He buried her body near the tunnel. That's why she became a ghost to guard the tunnel entrance. So she became an evil ghost to guard the entrance of the tunnel, and caused a car accident with the same car. Jie-Wu was angry when he heard that. He scolded her for hurting innocent people. Youngmi also apologized. Dong Chul got upset when he heard that. He stood up for his girlfriend. Jiang Hai asked Youngmi if she saw the murderer's face. Youngmi tried to remember. Vaguely, she saw a scar on his face. Isn't that Dong Chul's boss? Youngmi then thought of her mother, who was still looking for her. Her aura suddenly rose. Seeing this scene, the people were scared again and backed away. They had no choice but to lock Youngmi up in a room full of runes. Seeing his girlfriend in pain, Dong Chul had mixed feelings. Shortly after, Youngmi came to her senses. Jiang Hai asked her if she had any proof that Boss Black was the murderer. Youngmi thought that she grabbed Boss Black's hair when she was dying. Time was of the essence. They came to the mountain in the middle of the night. They were going to dig up the ghost's body. When the ghost thought of her tragic death, her demonic aura swept over her body again. They forced her to hold her down. At that moment, a car crashed into the cliff behind them. The fat ghost looked back. He recognized Black Boss right away. It turns out that Boss Black was ordered to kill Jie-Wu. He kept hitting Jie-Wu's car. At that critical moment, Sui Jian stopped the car. Boss Black couldn't stop the car and was about to do it again. Suddenly, the car seems to be stuck by something. It turns out that Dong Chul is in front of the car. He was puzzled and got out of the car to check, but he realized there was no one there, until he saw Youngmi's face. The boss finally remembered. Youngmi grabbed him by the neck. He was so scared that he fainted. Just as Youngmi was about to kill him, Dong Chul stopped her, because once a ghost kills a person, he can never be reincarnated. Seeing his girlfriend crying so hard, Dong Chul decided to sacrifice himself to avenge his girlfriend's death. After saying that, he grabbed a brick and went towards the boss. Sui Jian stopped him in time, but Dong Chul suddenly filled his body with hostility and even Sui Jian was knocked away. Finally, Jie-Wu persuaded him to put down the stone in his hand. Youngmi also walked towards Dong Chul. He said that his wrongdoing had been solved. They embraced each other and cried. Finally, they found the hair. The boss was arrested. He was scared by Youngmi and is now completely retarded. Youngmi was led by Jiang Hai to see her mother, who had been searching for her. Her mother was devastated by the news. Youngmi told her what she wanted to tell her through Jiang Hai. The mother is getting over it, and Dong Chul and Youngmi finally got together. The old man was a happy family of 3 before he died, because his daughter said she wanted to be a pianist when she grew up. So he worked multiple jobs every day, delivering goods during the day. At night, he worked as a driver, just to save money to buy his daughter a piano. One day, he got an order from a drunk. The drunk told him to turn around. When he refused, so he grabbed the steering wheel. While they were fighting, a big truck came speeding up ahead. After his death, he wanted to see his daughter more often. He's been working as a ghost bodyguard at Jie-Wu's house. That day, he came home again. He was so happy to see his daughter practicing the piano. After playing the piano, she came back to her mom. The old man also sat down, looking at his wife and daughter. At this moment, he wanted to join in and enjoy the happiness of the family together. Soon it was time for the piano exam, but the girl packed her things and told the teacher that she would never touch the piano again. The old man, who had been standing outside her classroom, saw her coming out so early. He felt something was wrong, so he followed her all the way. When she got home, she locked herself in her room. Mom didn't know what was wrong. The old man looked at his crying daughter and felt pained. Suddenly the daughter stood up and opened the door. She told her mom that her father had died because of her. Mom was puzzled. The daughter said she read her mother's diary. She learned that her father died because he worked so hard to buy himself a piano. She felt that she had wronged her father. Whenever she sees a piano, she thinks of her dead father. Seeing her daughter's future ruined because of herself, as a father, he felt terrible. That's why he hid in the shrine and didn't want to come out. Jie-Wu asked him what was wrong. The old man told them to leave him alone alone. When the old man wouldn't talk, they forced him out. Eventually, with Evrayan's encouragement, the old man was getting over it. He told them about his daughter. They all sympathized with the old man, but the only thing the old man wanted was to talk to his daughter to get her out of his mind. So Jae-woo brought him to Grandma. He told her about the ghost situation. Grandma suggested that he could go into his family's dreams and communicate his thoughts. Everyone was happy to hear that, but you need 3 more dream charms to do it, and to activate them, the blood of the client must be used. When Jae-woo heard that, he held out his hands and said it was okay. Grandma was very happy to see Jae-woo's behavior. Jae-woo's 10 fingers were then stabbed with wounds. As Grandma did her job, the old man began to dream. When he hears his father's voice, my daughter rushed to get up. When she opened the door, she froze. Isn't this her dead father? The daughter couldn't help but rush forward and hug her father. This hug has been a long time coming. Dad told his daughter that his death was caused by a drunken passenger. She had nothing to do with it. With her father's encouragement, the daughter's heart was cleared. Afterwards, father and daughter ate fried chicken together. The next day, when she woke up, the girl told her mom she was going to the competition, because her father would be happy to see her. As time was running out, the girl ran to the test site without stopping, but Jae-woo was already waiting at the entrance, so they got into Jae-woo's car. There was a traffic jam in the middle of the way. Then a man on a motorcycle came by. Jae-woo told the girl that he was an employee of his company. Soon after, the girl got on the motorcycle. Unbeknownst to her, the man on the motorcycle was her dead father. The girl leaned on her father's shoulder and made him feel warm. Soon after, the father and daughter arrived at the test center. Looking at his daughter's back, he felt very relieved. The daughter had been looking around at the piano competition, because last night she and her father had promised to come and watch her play today. As the girl danced her fingers, the sound of the piano filled the exam room. At the end of the performance, the girl looked towards the audience, although she couldn't see her father, but she knew her father wouldn't go back on his word. That day, Jae-woo suddenly received news of his grandfather's death. That night, he brought 3 ghosts to the funeral. When he entered the door, he froze, because everyone was chatting happily. They were even playing cards. This made Jae-woo angry. When the grandmother saw him, she yelled at everyone to come over and bow. Then they greeted Jae-woo politely. Jae-woo realized that the reason why these friends and family came was because his grandfather had helped them a lot, and they were grateful for his help. But suddenly, he was arrested on false charges. The family and friends were afraid that they would be implicated, so they spoke ill of him to the media, and Jae-woo heard it all. Jae-woo realized that they were all hypocrites. Then Jae-woo went to the shrine to pay his respects to his dead grandfather. Looking at his grandfather's picture, he couldn't help but cry. At that moment, Grandma came over. She told him the reason for his death. It turned out that Grandpa had performed another ritual in the village a while ago, because the girl was possessed by an evil spirit. Grandpa kept beating the girl with his flags. The girl was trembling. Then he picked up a double-edged sword and continued to beat the girl's body. Seeing that the evil spirit possessing the girl still refused to surrender, Grandpa grabbed a blanket and put it over the girl's head. He yelled at the evil spirit to leave. Then he picked up a torch. As the incantation was recited, the girl gradually stopped. Everyone thought the ghost had left. Suddenly, a black smoke came out of the girl's body. After struggling with the evil spirit, Grandpa was able to subdue the ghost, but he suffered serious internal injuries. He was seriously ill from then on until he died. When he found out what happened to him, Jae-woo was furious. He took out a pile of money from his pocket and put it on the table and left. That day, Sui Jian was taking a bath. Jae-woo suddenly came in. He told Sui Jian that he had a strange dream last night. He dreamt that a gourd with runes was calling him from the depths of the sea. Sui Jian thought he was making a fuss, but the dream was very real. At the same time, several fishermen were fishing at sea. One of them found a gourd with runes on it. He was puzzled and handed it to his companion. The man opens the gourd, only to see a black gas coming out of it and entering the man's body. When the fisherman realized that the man hadn't come over yet, he went to look for her, but they saw him kneeling on the ground, not moving. Soon after, the man grabbed a knife and stabbed his companion in the stomach. The screams of his companion soon attracted the other 3, but he was possessed by an evil spirit and lost his mind. He killed them all and dumped them in the sea. The next day, Jang Hai read about the missing 5 fishermen on the internet. When she saw the fishermen's photos, she realized something, so she took out her cell phone. After comparing and analyzing, isn't this man the murderer Man Yu? In order to verify the truth, Jang Hai ran to the beach. She found out Man Yu's address from a fisherman. Then she went to Man Yu's house, but she found no one there. Then she saw a pair of shoes, so she picked them up and looked at them. She noticed that the size of the shoes was the same as Man Yu's, which made her realize it was probably the same person. At the same time, a group of people were gathered around the sea. It turned out that the shaman was casting a spell on the dead fisherman. After some manipulation, the witch looked a little panicked. It turns out that the news report shows that there are 5 dead people, but the witch found only 4 souls. The witch closed her eyes again. She quickly realized that the 5th person was neither alive nor dead. Then Jang Hai came out and asked about Man Yu, but the villagers said that the man was honest and couldn't be a murderer. They even told her to leave. That day, A cat ran frantically to the tree. It smelled its owner's scent. The woman ran over to check it out but was shocked. The man, who had heard the sound, came too, and looked in the direction the woman pointed. The man was so scared he sat down on the ground. Soon the police cordoned off the yard. They finally dug up the bodies of the 3 victims. It's obvious that this is a family, and the bathroom of the victim's house was covered with blood stains. They suspected that they were kidnapped and killed. The coroner speculates that the blood in the bathroom belongs to the homeowner and his wife. It must have been killed with a blunt instrument, and their child appears to have been strangled and his hands and feet tied. It's obviously a planned killing. Then who would have a grudge against a child? Zhang Hai suddenly thought of something. He asked the coroner how long ago the child died. The coroner said 5 days ago. Zhang Hai took out his cell phone and checked the calendar. She realized that it was a full moon 5 days ago. She rushed to the living room and opened the drawer to find some white candles. Isn't this man Yusmo? 15 years ago, he knew the evil spirit had returned, and that evil spirit survives by sucking people's essence. The white candles are his tools of the trade. Soon Zhang Hai spotted the crippled man through the surveillance camera, and he has the same description as the murderer. Zhang Hai requested to reopen the case of the murderer, because her father was killed by the killer, but there's no concrete evidence, and her co-workers don't agree. Zhang Hai had no choice but to ask Jay Wu for help. She told them about Manu, but Sui Jian thinks it's impossible, because the evil spirit was sealed 10 years ago and sank into the sea. Zhang Hai also thought of the 4 fishermen who were killed in the sea. One of them looked like a murderer. They speculated that the evil ghost might have possessed the demon. Soon Sui Jian came to the crime scene with Zhang Hai as his guide. He closed his eyes tightly and saw the whole process of the evil spirit's crime. Then they sat down together to discuss how to get rid of the ghost, because the evil spirit hadn't recovered all its power since it broke the seal. Sui Jian decided to go alone to get rid of the ghost. In order to lure the evil spirit out, Zhang Hai is the best candidate, but Jay Wu didn't agree to Zhang's risk, because how can humans defeat the evil ghost? Suddenly, Zhang Hai received another message from the police. She had no choice but to go back to the police station. After they left, Grandma decided to tell Jay Wu the truth. 15 years ago, there was a conflict between Jay Wu and a classmate. At night, the classmates went straight to Jay Wu's shrine. They beat Jay Wu up. He also smashed the shrine, and the evil spirit escaped. When he heard his grandmother's story, Jay Wu was in a state of remorse. At the same time, a group of gangsters surrounded the ghost. The ghost clenched his fists and smiled. Soon after, the police received a report of a fight. When they arrived at the scene, they saw that everyone was beaten up and fell to the ground. Zhang Hai got out of the car and found a man wearing a hat. Seeing the man running away, Zhang Hai gave chase. After a long chase, she finally knocked him down. When she took off the hat, she realized she wasn't the one she was looking for, and the evil spirit had already run away. Suddenly a voice called out to him. It was Sui Jian who came to kill him. One is an evil spirit who has lived for 2,000 years. The other is a god who has lived for 2,000 years. Seeing the evil spirit gathering all its energy, Sui Jian also drew his sword. Then they fought together. Just like 2,000 years ago, they were equally matched. In the end, Sui Jian got the better of the evil spirits and knocked them to the ground, but Sui Jian was also seriously injured. At the same time, Grandma drew some charms for Jay Wu. As long as you put it on the door, the evil spirits can't come in. Suddenly, there was no wind. The lights dimmed and flickered. Grandma immediately realized that something might have happened to Sui Jian. When they ran over and saw Sui Jian lying on the floor, Jay Wu soon realized that Sui Jian's body was becoming more and more transparent, so Jay Wu helped him into the room. He asked what was going on. Sui Jian told Jay Wu that the evil spirit was targeting him. Don't get hurt or the evil spirit will attach itself to you through blood. After explaining the matter, Sui Jian turned into a puff of smoke and returned to the statue. Without Sui Jian's blessing, will Jay Wu be able to defeat the evil spirit? On the other hand, Zhang Hai heard from the gang that the evil spirit is looking for Jay Wu. She drove a police car straight to Jay Wu's house. When she entered the room, Jay Wu asked her what's wrong. Then Zhang Hai told her what she was worried about. Jay Wu seemed to understand. Then he told Zhang Hai everything. When he left, Zhang Hai was still a little worried. He said that he would move to Jay Wu's house to protect him. When he got home, Zhang Hai started packing. Then he went to Jay Wu's house. The 3 ghosts welcomed Zhang Hai with open arms, but Jay Wu was a bit reluctant. Then Jay Wu put her in the guest room. Zhang Hai found a box on the nightstand. When she opens it, she finds a ring. Jay Wu saw the ring in Zhang's hand. He lied and said it was a magic trick, but he didn't realize that it was the ring he used to confess his love to Zhang Hai. To ease the embarrassment, he introduced the room's furnishings. On that day, Zhang Hai passed by Manu on his way home, and Zhang's special physique quickly attracted the evil spirit's attention, so he quickly followed him. Soon the evil spirit cornered Zhang Hai on a rooftop and tried to force himself on her. When Jay Wu arrived at the scene, the evil spirit had already finished possessing her. Jay Wu tried to come forward, but the evil spirit slapped him away. Jay Wu then asked Sui Jian to possess himself. Then both sides fought. No matter how the evil spirit attacked, Jay Wu was able to neutralize it easily. But when he saw Zhang's face, Jay Wu was hesitant to make a move. Seeing that Zhang Hai was injured, he had to put away his sword. The evil spirit grabbed Jay Wu's neck and threw him out. Seeing his injured palm, Jay Wu seemed to think think of something. He slowly stood up and told the evil spirit to possess him. Sui Jian also tried to stop him from doing that, but Jie Wu had to do it for Zheng Hai. Then the evil spirit possessed Jie Wu. Sui Jian was also pushed out. Suddenly, Jie Wu grabbed a talisman and sealed the wound. So he wanted to die with the evil spirit. Sui Jian had no choice but to raise his sword. Jie Wu rushed towards Sui Jian. That's how the evil spirit died, and Sui Jian ended his mission. Then Sui Jian flew back to the divine world. Seeing Sui Jian leaving, Jie Wu couldn't hold on any longer. In the end, Jie Wu disappeared into thin air. After his death, Jie Wu went back 2,000 years. He saw Zheng Hai from his past life. He went up to the princess and touched her cheek. The princess asked him how he came back here. Jie Wu said Ming Do brought his spirit here. He told the princess that tomorrow you will die, and there's nothing I can do to save you. The princess asked if we would meet again in the next life. When she heard from Jie Wu that they would fall in love again in the next life, she knew that they must have a good ending in the next life. Jie Wu hugged the princess. He realized that his life wasn't over yet. The next day, the princess died. On the rooftop 2,000 years later, Zheng Hai also woke up. When she saw Jie Wu, she hugged him. At that moment, Jie Wu woke up. At the same time, Sui Jian returned to the divine world. Just when he thought he was going to be in the immortal class, the Jade Emperor announced Sui Jian needed to return to the mortal world because of his illegal behavior. A few years later, Jie Wu and Zheng Hai got married and had a son. At his birthday party, he brought his 3 best friends, but Jie Wu felt a strange familiarity with these 3 children, until one day when they went out to play. Jie Wu realized that his son's 3 friends resembled the 3 ghosts he had raised before. He finally realized something. This is the end of the movie. If you're interested, please like and follow us. See you next time.